introduce Florence Nakakuni at this point.
Thank you, and good morning. Yesterday, a federal grand jury here in Honolulu indicted 2 mainland residents for defrauding the University of Hawaii of $200,000 for a Stevie Wonder concert that was to benefit the UH Athletic Department. The defendants are Mark Hubbard, a resident of North Carolina, a person involved in the live concert business. The other person is Sean Barrero, a British subject who is a resident of Miami, Florida, and who aspires to be in that business. Mark Hubbard is charged in count 1 with wire fraud. The wire transmission is the wire transfer of monies from a UH bank account here in Hawaii to a bank account in Florida. Mr. Barrero is charged in count 2 with causing the interstate transportation of stolen property, namely the $200,000. According to the indictment, Mr. Hubbard represented that he had connections with the management and inner circle of Stevie Wonder's management, and that Mr. Wonder was available for a concert here in Honolulu in August of 2012, when in fact Mr. Hubbard had no such connections and was never in any position to secure Stevie Wonder's appearance here in Honolulu. And at Mr. Hubbard's direction, Mr. Barrero falsely represented to a UH official that the $200,000 had been sent to Stevie Wonder. The $200,000 that was wired into a bank account in Miami was wired to an account controlled by Mr. Barrero, who made the following disbursements. $120,000 to Mr. Hubbard, ostensibly to pay Stevie Wonder. $11,250 was wired to another individual in Europe who was identified in the indictment by initials. And $68,750 was retained and later spent by Mr. Barrero on personal expenses. The $120,000 that was sent to Mr. Hubbard was spent by Mr. Hubbard on personal and his own business expenses. No money went to Stevie Wonder or to any entity authorized to represent Mr. Stevie Wonder. On July 6, 2012, tickets to the Stevie Wonder concert went on sale to the public here. On July 9, 2012, a representative of Stevie Wonder, an authorized agent, contacted the university, informed the university that Mr. Wonder and his management were unaware and had no knowledge of the concert, which brings us to today. And I'm sure you have many questions concerning other matters related to the indictment. And for that, I would like to turn it over to Vida Bottom, Special Agent in charge of Honolulu FBI. Thank you.
Good morning. This morning, FBI special agents in North Carolina arrested defendant Mark Hubbard on the wire fraud charges described by U.S. Attorney Nakakuni. The arrest occurred without incident. Mr. Hubbard had his initial court appearance in Charlotte, and on Tuesday, the judge will decide whether he can travel here to Honolulu to go to U.S. District Court, or whether the U.S. Marshals will transport him here to face these charges. In any case, it will be a couple of weeks before Mr. Hubbard has his first court appearance here in Hawaii. Tom Simon, my press officer, will keep you updated on that. The second defendant, Sean Barrero, has been charged with interstate transportation of stolen property in the same indictment. Mr. Barrero is represented by an attorney with the Hawaii Federal Public Defender Program. Pursuant to an agreement negotiated by the United States Attorney's Office, Mr. Barrero will appear in Honolulu U.S. District Court this afternoon to face these charges. He has not been arrested. I understand there's been a great deal of interest in this matter, and that the press and the public would like to know more details. It is important that these men get a fair trial, and I want to remind the public that these defendants are presumed innocent unless or until found guilty in court. Let me take a moment to fill in a couple of the blanks for you today with the understanding that the best venue for presenting evidence is in the courtroom. The Honolulu FBI was contacted by the University of Hawaii on July 11, 2012, regarding what appeared to be a fraud with the August 18th Stevie Wonder concert. The FBI followed logical investigative leads with the goal of tracing the missing money and collecting evidence to support criminal charges. 126 days later, the case was presented to a federal grand jury who returned an indictment. Oftentimes, Hollywood has given the public the false expectation that major crimes can be solved in an hour or two. I've been doing this type of work for several years now, and I can tell you that a significant complex case going from a victim's complaint to a federal grand jury indictment in 126 days is very, very, very quick. A lot of hard work and late nights went into this investigation that we're announcing today. Considerable public interest in the coverage in this case focused on what went wrong at the University of Hawaii. From day one, we regarded the university as an institutional crime victim, and we focused our investigation on the suspects who received the money. Understanding that, I am comfortable with saying the FBI found no evidence of criminal wrongdoing at the University of Hawaii regarding the Stevie Wonder concert. In fact, the university officials that we spoke with in the investigation were open, forthcoming, and available to us without precondition throughout our investigation. Finally, the big question in your minds may be what happened to the money. As stated in the indictment, it appears that the defendants spent the money on personal expenses and to pay off business debts soon after it arrived in their bank account. By the time the university became aware of the fraud, there was no cash left to recover. The only asset of any value was bought with the university's money was a black 2010 Mercedes SUV, and it was purchased with a $25,300 down payment. A seizure warrant for the Mercedes was obtained in Hawaii federal court on September 13th, and FBI agents in Miami seized the vehicle on September 17th. The Mercedes is now the subject of forfeiture proceedings. But because of the sizable existing auto finance lien on the vehicle, there may be only minimal, if any, recovery to the university following forfeiture. In conclusion, I would like to thank the United States Attorney's Office for their partnership in this investigation. From the beginning, they understood the seriousness of this matter and the importance of addressing it expeditiously. It is the cooperation between our offices that remains the cornerstone of our investigative success here in Hawaii. And with that, thank you.
Can you tell us about the circumstances of Mr. Hubbard's arrest today? You said it was without incident. Where was it? You know, what happened?
It was in North Carolina, and that's pretty much all the details that I have. I know he was contacted. I believe he was contacted through attorney.
I can talk about that. The FBI agent showed up at his house this morning at about 6:30. I'm sorry, a little earlier than that, about 5:30 a.m. our time here in Hawaii. He wasn't home at the time, and so the FBI agent spoke with people who were at Mr. Hubbard's house who reached out for him. Mr. Hubbard, through an attorney, made contact with the agents and agreed to surrender himself. At 6:30 a.m. Hawaii time, he met FBI agents from our Charlotte division at the federal courthouse to surrender himself.
The time again?
6:30 a.m. Hawaii time, Mr. Hubbard surrendered himself at the federal courthouse in Charlotte.
He's
pursuant to the arrest warrant.
He's already facing criminal charges in South Carolina, right?
I'm not sure it'd be appropriate for us to talk about what's going on there. That's all a matter of public
I'm just
record.
wondering about extradition and that kind of thing.
Right.
How that's going to work.
There is going to be a detention hearing on Tuesday of next week in Charlotte, where the judge is going to make the decision whether he is allowed to appear here, on his own by traveling here to face these charges, or whether he'll be transported here by the U.S. Marshal Service. Whatever charges and whatever restrictions he may be facing in South Carolina, those things are generally worked out among the prosecutor's offices, and everybody makes sure that the other side knows what they're doing.
What knowledge does the University of Hawaii have of Mr. Hubbard and his involvement in this?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, what knowledge does the University of Hawaii have of Mr. Hubbard's involvement in all of this?
Well, it would be inappropriate for us to speak of what evidence might be presented in court. That would have to be disclosed when they go through the proper court proceedings.
Is it safe to say that they knew who he was, or is this a brand new name for them?
Again, I can't speak to what a witness may or may not have known at the time that the incident occurred. What's your understanding of the relationship or depth of relationship between Bob Payton, the local promoter, and these individuals? I don't think it would be appropriate for us to discuss additional information regarding what we had learned in the investigation at this time. Information like that would come out during court proceedings.
Is this going to be it? Can you say anything about further Helen Williams, Senise Crosby, and anything that might be addressed with their relationship? Is that the same answer?
It is a similar answer. I understand that there are other individuals that you may be aware of by name, but at this point it would be inappropriate for us to discuss what they may or may not say as a witness or any additional information regarding the investigation.
Are you expecting other charges to come down relating to other individuals in this case?
This case will remain ongoing until we get through our court proceedings and whether or not if someone is found guilty or what's developed with the case, but the case is open and ongoing.
Are you going to have to go
to the money in terms of, in quotes, escrow, trustee information, trust deposit? Is there, were these really trust and escrow accounts, or were they just open accounts? I guess people will want to know, how were they so easily to get the money on the other end?
Again, those details will be disclosed during court proceedings. It would be inappropriate for me to present, as I said earlier, the courtroom is the place where we present evidence.
I guess I should ask it in a different way.
Sure.
By stating escrow and trust in this indictment, are you stating that it was an escrow and trust account?
Gene, I think the indictment's clear that the University of Hawaii wire transferred the money after Mr. Barrero sent that document indicating that the money was going into an escrow trust account. And the indictment says right there in black and white that we are alleging that that bank account was not in fact an escrow or a trustee account.
Can I ask a pesky question here? Is his name pronounced Barrero or Barriero?
It's a great question, and his attorney informed me that it's pronounced Barrero. And ignore that little I in there. It's in there, but it's silent I.
Okay, Mr. Barrero, can you talk about, he's going to be in court, has he made some sort of a plea deal to testify, or what's happened?
His attorney is actually prepared to speak to you, and after this I'll be happy to give you his contact information. He's prepared a statement that he wants to provide to the press. It would be inappropriate for us to speak on his behalf. We're not his representatives. Mr. Barrero's court appearance is 2 p.m. today in Judge Chang's courtroom here in this building. I'll let you read between the lines based on how these two defendants are being treated as to where they both stand in the eyes of the law. But I think this court appearance is going to be something which will be of a great deal of interest to you.
In Hubbard's case, he was arrested at his home in Charlotte.
No, he was arrested at the federal courthouse in Charlotte today. The agents went to the home, he wasn't there, and then they arranged for his surrender at the federal courthouse in Charlotte, North Carolina.
And his home is in Charlotte too?
His home is in suburban Charlotte in North Carolina.
Is that Mecklenburg?
Mecklenburg County, I believe, yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not clear if it's a town or a county.
Tom, can you speak to, this took you from Hawaii to Florida to North Carolina, but does it involve Europe? Because elite talent, or the woman claims to be in Spain, this Helen Williams.
The indictment does indicate that some of the money from the University of Hawaii was transferred to an individual by the name of H.W. in Europe, yes.
Okay.
Where's the SUV now?
The SUV right now is in federal storage in Miami, Florida, as it goes through forfeiture proceedings.
And so the car was never in the state of Hawaii?
That's correct. The car was never in the state of Hawaii.
You said that Barrero is a British citizen. How long has he been here in the United States?
My understanding is he's lived in the United States for most of his life.
And how might his citizenship affect the prosecution?
I don't believe it will affect the prosecution at all. His citizenship is not at issue to the prosecution. How that plays into whatever happens to him in the long run is really not for us to decide.
But he's not a United States citizen. He's
That is
a British
correct.
citizen.
He's a citizen of Great Britain. He's a British subject.
Is there any connection between BAB Productions in Florida and BAB Productions in North Carolina? The former name of Epic Talent.
I don't believe the indictment or any of these documents discuss an entity known as BAB, so I'd rather not touch that if that's okay. Any other questions?
Great.
Okay, well listen, thank you so much for your time and your coverage and your patience with this story. Thank you.
Thank you.